All right, let's do my mid-month update for the month of August 2024. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Theo. Thanks for hanging out with me today on my booktube channel, RekindledReader. This is my mid-month update for August 2024. Just want to let you guys know what I've recently read, what I'm reading right now. I'm very excited about it. What I'm planning to finish by the end of the month, some channel updates, some collabs that I've been part of and expecting to be part of, what you can expect from this channel for the rest of the month. So as usual, I'll have timestamps down below so you can flip-flop to the parts that make the most sense for you. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. You may or may not know that I'm part of the TBR Quest Read-A-Thom. It is hosted over at the Keymark Discord. And if you're watching this, it's probably in the middle of the month at some point. So it might be a little too late to start, but maybe go ahead and join that Discord. I'll try and put a link in the description so you can be notified when we do other readathons. There's a ton over there. It's really led by wonderful indie author, AR Witham, Andy. And there's a lot of cool stuff going on over there. A lot of camaraderie, a lot of team building, and a lot of fun community reading happening over there. So go ahead and check that out. As part of that readathon, if you're not sure how it works, basically there are prompts, and every prompt there is a point. And so you try and read a book that matches a prompt in order to get a point. And if you do a review on it in some medium, you can get an extra point. So the whole point is, as a team, I'm on Madison Goodyear's team, a really good friend of mine, a captain, a reigning champion, and just a really, really cool person. I'm on her team and we're doing really well. So the point is, as a team, to try and get as many points as you want and fulfill as many prompts as you can to a maximum of 5 books. There is a bonus where there's like a team book where if you've done all your 5, you can potentially get an extra point by reading a team book that we've all decided on. But that's aside from the point. Let's talk about the books that I've read this month so far, which happen to be part of that readathon. The first one was Jack London's The Call of the Wild, 1903 it was written. And you know what? It was okay. It's really sort of looked at as a classic. I can understand why. It is a little antiquated. It's quite old, and it was very short. I did it fully on audio. It was a few hours long. I think it's 170 something pages. I ended up giving it a 3-star. It was an okay book for me, okay experience. To be quite frank, I went into it thinking it was going to be more of a survival nature story. Didn't really realize, or I seem to have forgotten, that it was from the point of view of Buck, who is the protagonist and is a dog. He was a domesticated house pet, living a life of luxury, that gets basically dog napped and taken into the woods and, became kind of a sled dog and really transitions into a wild animal and goes through some trauma, and his interactions with humans is very different than what he's accustomed to. And to be quite honest, it was a little bit tough to read at times, a little bit triggering if you're sensitive to animal stuff. And so, yeah, it was good. Not quite what I expected. And again, it's a very old book. It has its place as a classic. A lot of people appreciate it. There is also sort of the other story. I believe it's from the... Oh no, it's a similar story. It's called White Fang. And I know a couple friends of mine mentioned it when I brought up that I was going to read Call of the Wild. And this is sort of the contrasting story. This is a wild animal that gets, I believe, domesticated. So that one might be cool to check out too. But again, wasn't blown away. It wasn't exactly what I was really in the mood for. I thought it might be a more wilderness adventure story. And I forgot that this was the one about the dog. I was probably getting it confused with Into the Wild or some other stories. So it was okay. At that point, I picked up, City on Fire by Dawn Winslow. That was a awesome crime thriller, mafia thriller in the same vein as Goodfellas, The Godfather, Casino, very reminiscent of an 80s mobster movie. That's when it takes place. It follows Danny Ryan and the Irish and Italian crime families that are in conflict. And as the story goes, it builds and builds, and there's more and more drama and intrigue, and it was lightning fast paced. Really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend that if you like crime thrillers, if you like mafia movies, that, the 80s style gangster theme, it very much atmospheric in that way. So I really liked it, and I ended up giving it, I think a 4-star, something like that. I really liked it. And then at that point, I started A.R. Witham's The Legend of Black Jack. This is a portal fantasy. Basically, he's whisked off to the land of Keymark on his 14th birthday, and he's thrown into a bunch of adventures. He meets a lot of people along the way. It's very classical portal, whimsical type fantasy. It reads, a little bit YA as well as adult. It has a lot of heart that you would expect from almost a children's story, but it's quite dark and quite funny at times. I laughed out loud at some of the dialogue. Very fast paced. There's a lot happening. Really cool characters, really compelling and unique characters and voices in here. A.R. Witham does the narration on the audiobook. There's a part in here where he introduces some pirates. And that scene is really memorable. It's done incredibly well. And the narration for the pirates was magic. It was so good. He is incredible when it comes to finding different voices, and particularly the pirates. Super cool. I'm enjoying it. I will say it's not entirely my cup of tea, and I suspect it's not truly what I've been in the mood for lately, because I've been taking my time with the last third of the book, and I've been reading other stuff in between to balance my mood a little bit. It's trending to be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe a 3-4 star, which is a good book for me. Just not quite my cup of tea, but I can see this appealing to a lot of people. A lot of whimsical, atmospheric fantasy in here, and I think it'll jive with a lot of people. So yeah, I've been reading that one, and I have about a third left. In between that and some other stuff, I was at a bookstore, and I happened to just, how sometimes a book just speaks to you off the shelf. That's what happened to me with this one. Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And I'm not sure why I picked this one up. I happened to just, like I said, it caught my eye. I looked at the back, seemed kind of interesting. I looked at Goodreads. A couple people that I know had recently either read it or picked it up. And funnily enough, Madison Goodyear also, when I sent her a picture that I randomly picked this up that was outside my comfort zone, she laughed and sent me a picture of the same book because she also bought it. So I buddy read this one with Madison, and we had an absolute blast. I did this with the physical, obviously, as well as the the audiobook, which is on Everand, which used to be Scribd. And I had an absolute blast with this one. This was such a wonderfully moving book, and it is absolutely reminiscent of Frederick Bachman. I'm a huge Frederick Bachman fan. This one had a lot of a man called Uwe vibes, and all in the best ways. This is an example of an author that has a really special ability to understand and write and convey in a book the human experience, and it's done so incredibly well. This is basically a story about Tova, who's a woman in her golden years, almost retirement. She's working a few days a week at a aquarium on the coast in Washington, and she befriends in a very organic and wonderful way giant Pacific octopus. His name is Marcellus, and I fell in love with Marcellus. I have to say, it was the absolute peak of this book is whenever Marcellus was on the page, it just was captivating. And I was just enchanted by this whole book, to be honest. I won't say much more than that because I don't want to spoil anything. It's quite special the way all of this weaves together, but there are other POVs as well. And there are a couple storylines from a couple different characters, which I found to be quite compelling, and it weaves everyone together in a beautifully satisfying way where all their stories interact and everybody has a place in each other's lives that you don't quite realize or understand or could even imagine how this all might play together. It's exceptional. I gave it a 5 stars. Madison gave it a 5 stars. I'm trying to be a little bit more reserved with my 5 stars. I recently put out a video that was, about my rating system, and this one was perfect. I devoured it in like 2 days, gave it 5 stars, and I would absolutely reread it again. I would recommend it if you want something cozy, but also compelling, moving, emotional. I cried at the end. Surprise, surprise. I had a really good time with it. So I would recommend this. Again, if you're a fan of Frederick Bachman, you must try this book. Oh yeah, I also finished A Court of Thorns and Roses. Oh my God, I read ACOTAR. And I read ACOTAR, and it was not a 5-star book. I gave it on Goodreads a generous rounded 3. It was probably a 2.5 if I'm being completely honest with myself. But here's the thing. Go to Goodreads, go on my Goodreads. The link is in the description. Probably read my review, because I was actually quite enamored with the book. I found myself really invested in a weird way, and I pretty much devoured it very quickly. I'm looking forward to the second book. I read it with Madison as well, and we were chatting the whole way through. And honestly, we were laughing and discussing, and we had a lot of criticisms with the writing and the plot, some conveniences, some characters that were flat, and some just cringy moments, some language in the fantasy genre that like didn't belong in the book in places that were a little bit distracting. There was a bunch of things we could point to say, it's not great. But for some reason, we enjoyed it well enough. We considered it just chill, popcorn, rom-com type fantasy. Not com, it's romantasy. Although there were some comedic moments, whether that was deliberate or not, it was okay. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because I was fully expecting to check out mentally and emotionally and just like not really care. But I found myself invested, and there were moments of decent writing actually, and there were moments of, you know, some character development where I found it to be quite interesting. I will say the lore, the background, the intrigue, the curiosity that I have, like all of that was done pretty well. It grips you, and you definitely need to know what happens. I felt like the climax, Under the Mountain, for those of you that have read this book, was a little cheesy. There were some trials that the main character had to overcome that I thought were like not great, and there were some plot devices in there that just didn't really work for me, but it was okay. And did I want to pull my hair out? Not really. It was okay. I'm still here. I read ACOTAR, and I actually enjoyed it well enough, even though I had no idea where I was going to land. It was all right. I gave it a 3. I can see why it has a place in the subgenre and why a lot of people love it. What I'm most excited about, I have to be honest, is that I finally picked up Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. I have read a bunch of Brandon Sanderson, and I'm making my way through the Cosmere in a specific order, although I did read Warbreaker, I believe, most recently. And it's time for the Stormlight. I've had it on deck forever. I have the special edition leatherbound behind me. I believe the second book is Words of Radiance, and I've already ordered that from the Kickstarter backer kit or whatever, wherever you get it from. So what I decided to do was, this is going to be a book that the 5th book, Winds of Truth, is going to be such a highly anticipated release. Everyone is looking forward to it. It's going to be the buzz of BookTube in December. And I think I'm going to feel really left out if I haven't at least read a couple of the books. So they're really chunky. They get bigger and bigger. I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch up by December, and really be part of that discussion, but I want to understand what the appeal is and why people are so riveted and, in love with the Stormlight Archive, and what makes it so high, top tier fantasy for people. So I am honestly a couple chapters into The Way of Kings. I haven't really made a dent. I'm doing this coupled with the audiobook, and I'm enjoying it well enough. I'm very hooked right away. I'm intrigued. I've been warned that this is a bit of a slow burn, but I'm here for it, and I'm excited to continue. So I'm reading this, and it won't count for my TBR quest, whatever, because I think I've hit the 5 books that I needed. I don't know if I'm going to get this done by the end of the month, but I'm going to try. I have plenty of time left, and I'm reading this month. I've read more books than I have in a while in that amount of time. So I have plenty of time. I have the whole back half of the month to get this done. Whether or not I can do a book a month until December, I don't know, but I'm going to try. And I have a lot of people that I'm discussing with. Read by Kyle, one of my good friends, and I'm going to message him my thoughts and see if I'm on track. And if there are things that I should be understanding that I'm not understanding, I'm sure he'll clarify for me along the way. So this is what I'm most excited for right now, and what I'm most excited to hopefully finish by the end of the month. As for the channel, I did some videos. I did my TBR where I talk a little bit more in depth about the TBR Quest Read-A-Thon and what I was planning to read, although now I've told you a little bit about how that shook out. Also, at the end of July, I did my top 10 books of all time. That, I believe, is the highest viewed video on my channel. So that one was really cool. A lot of people had good things to say, and not a whole lot of pushback on my choices, which is really cool. So a lot of people thought that was an eccentric list of books, little bit of everything, and I think that I would agree. So my July wrap up also came out at the end of last month, and it was a unique wrap up because I read the best book that I've read all year, as well as the worst book, in my opinion, that I've read all year. So that was kind of an interesting wrap up. So if you haven't seen my July wrap up, go ahead and check that out. The channel's growing. When I came back to BookTube after like a year off, I think I was at 1,900 subscribers, and within about a month I'm up to almost 2,500, which is super cool. So the channel's growing and I couldn't be happier. It's nice to be part of the community again, feel welcomed back and be part of the discussion. On that note, we're doing some collabs. So I'm going to have a bunch of people on the channel over the next little while. I want to get back to doing my fireside chats, which is my long form sit down discussion with guests, whether it's one or two guests or whatever. Interesting. One of my lights just went out. Sorry about that. But yeah, so at the end of July, I was lucky enough to be on Laura's channel, Fantasy Awash, had a really good discussion. I was also on Kyle's channel, Read by Kyle, another amazing channel, very well read, really cool guy, one of my best friends on BookTube. And this Friday, August 16th, not sure when you're going to watch this, but Friday, August 16th, I'm so excited because on my channel, I am going to have RJ Gibson and Alex from Tall Guy Reads. The three of us are, if you know us, you know that we were part of the Grimoire Discord, and we call ourselves kind of the Grimoire gang. So I can't wait to catch up with these guys. These guys are my longest and just best friends on BookTube. They're people that I've been talking to for a couple years now, and we've become really, really close. I can't wait to talk to them. They've both been on a bit of a BookTube hiatus, took some time, stepped away, but they've been reading, they've been busy. Can't wait to catch up on life and books and everything with my boys. I cannot wait. On the Saturday, August 17th in the morning at some point, I'm going to have the privilege to be a guest again on Joanna's channel for her Why Read segment, and I'm going to be partnered with the brilliant and hilarious Brian Bell over at BellTube. That is going to be an awesome discussion. I just can't wait to talk with him a little bit more face to face because I followed him from afar for a while. Seems like we have a lot of the same tastes, and I really like his personality. Joanna is just the wind beneath my wings, and I just love her as a person and love her channel, by the way. So can't wait to talk with them both. And then I have something really, really special. I have a couple other guests as well coming up, but in the month, and I'm starting to schedule people out a little bit further because, I can't wait to catch up with all my BookTube friends and maybe pull some other people out of retirement. But very exciting. Near the end of the month, I believe we have it scheduled for a Friday, August 23rd. You're going to see one of the best booktubers of all time and my inspiration to even, start a channel. I think a lot of you share that sentiment. If you're on this side of the lens, you probably have gotten inspired by this guy as well. And that is Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews. He and I have been pals for a while. I've been supporting his channel for quite a long time, and I would consider him a friend. He's one of the OGs of BookTube, so can't wait to talk to him about BookTube in general, pick his brain on a bunch of different things. So stay tuned for that. If you're excited for me to sit down with Mike, make sure you go and click the link or whatever, go to that video in the live section and set a notification so you're made aware. But I believe it's August 23rd, which should be a Friday. As I said, I will have other guests I'm starting to schedule out for September and October and stuff, but have a lot of familiar faces lined up for you guys, so I'm excited for that. On that note, as I bounce, I just want to shout out a couple BookTube channels that I really like. Some newer ones, some not so new, but there's Bearded Book Beast. This guy is awesome. I really like his channel. I like his humor and his energy. His editing is good. He's got a really good brand going, and he's got a pretty nice beard. So Go Read Books, Matt over at Go Read Books. I'll link everybody in the description, by the way. awesome channel, and I just really like his vibes as well. There's also Bookish Daddy, who I've been recently following. Has a lot of we have a lot of overlap, and he's reading a lot of things that are a little bit outside my comfort zone. He's reading a lot of romantasy and stuff, so I'm curious to see how he, what he thinks about a lot of the books he's reading. Really good opinions and really good content overall. And then of course, my buddy Epic Tales. I was lucky enough to hang out with him in Vancouver. We grabbed a beer, hit some bookstores, grabbed some food, got to know each other a little bit. Really, really good philosophical discussion over on his booktube channel. Really in-depth content, some character deep dives, I guess you would call them, and some long form stuff. Really interesting. Huge fan of grimdark, really well versed in epic fantasy as well. So go ahead and check out all these channels down below. In the description, you can probably find them. That's all I got, guys. Super quick mid-month update. Just wanted to let you guys know what's up, and that's it. I'll catch y'all in the next video.